next speaker is Mr. Bourcier du Carbone, who is going to speak
Merci, Madame la modératrice. Monsieur
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we know that the scientific history of the Shroud of Turin started on the 20th of May 1988 on the occasion of the first X-ray of the shroud made by Secondo Pia. X-ray which obliged us to consider the image marked on this archaeological finding like a kind of negative on the fabric, which had been made much earlier than the invention of nips. But research, which involved various scientific disciplines, multiplied in the last few years, from 69 to 74, under the authority of Cardinal Michele Pellegrino, and then as of 1966 to 68, in the framework of the Turin Research Project, under the auspices of the new Cardinal Anastasio Ballestero. What do we get from this image? First of all, that this image is not due to painting or dyes. Secondly, the stains spotting it seems to be human blood. Thirdly, the image on the shroud has a formation process which is not explained scientifically. It's a kind of three-dimensional print. As of 1988 in Turin, a sample of the fabric was made with the active participation of Mr. Giovanni Riginomana and Professor Franco Testore, with the aim of getting the dating through the sampling and dosing of radiocarbon. The experiments were carried out by 3 laboratories: Oxford, Tucson in Arizona, and Zurich one, under the control and coordination by Michael Pite of the Research Lab of the British Museum. Official results were published in 4 pages on the magazine Nature in February 1989. These results and their statistical processing were validated and certified by British Museum after supervision by Professor Bre of the Institute of Meteorology of Turin. The making of the shroud was dated back to the medieval period. So between 1260 and 1390. This meant that all of the scientific community had to deal with this archaeological finding. That's why the symposium was organized in Paris on the 7th and 8th September 1989. At that time, the various works were compared, and scientists of the various disciplines involved had to, first of all, establish a balance or the result of the scientific works carried out in this sector. Secondly, assess the convergence and divergence points which could emerge in view of all of the scientific studies. And thirdly, they had to try and solve doubts and contradictions which could be still existing in the research work carried out within the framework of these disciplines. At the end of the Paris Symposium, these aims were more or less achieved, as proven by the official telegram closing the symposium, which was sent to the media and which was censored by France Press, intentionally censored. I'm quoting: the comparison of the work of specialists in iconography, hematology, medicine, experts in fabric and tissues of chemical physics, epistemology, led to, at the end of these 2 days, led to the to take into account on the basis of the carbon-14 dating the onset of epistemological contradiction. New thesis of carbon-14 dating should be checked, and these studies are still necessary. This is end of quotation. So new assumptions and hypotheses were firmly indicated in the communiqué issued by the scientific committee after the Paris meeting. In the epistemological summary expressed during this Symposium, Arnois de Pasquier clarified the scientific situation of the shroud, making clear that the conclusions of 1988 were in a way isolated compared to what has been achieved by research carried out by other scientific disciplines, identifying the 5 possible states of generation of image printed on the shroud. Pasquier outlined 5 places the epistemological sector of scientific research applied to this object. First point, this fact which produced the shroud, is it coming from an artist?
Second, is this due to a forgery? And third point, this generating fact, is this originating from a corpse, from somebody who was crucified and tortured? Third, this imprinted image, does this come from the Jesus of Nazareth? And fifth and last point, the last hypothesis, this generating fact, does it come from the corpse mentioned in the last chapter of the Gospels? An American who cooperated with hundreds of engineers and specialists could get rid of hypothesis number 1, that is an artist generating this image, because we have no pigment, no paints, no directional traits, no details, and the negative character of the image, it's a 3-dimensional character, the belonging of medieval artistic currents. All this leads us to exclude the first hypothesis. In the course of the Paris Symposium, immediately after that, the second hypothesis was gotten rid of, that is the forgery, because no argument could be presented to the international scientific community in order to support the second hypothesis. No document could support this thesis. Nobody could support this thesis during the symposium or after that. The results of the radiocarbon dating, and especially Dr. Tack, who coordinated the experiments, firmly states and maintains the medieval dating of the shroud. Nevertheless, legitimate doubts can be advanced. 15 anomalies are present. First of all, there is the absence of a formal report of the sampling. Second, the video archive, the video file as to the packaging of samples. Third, there are contradictions in the official reports of the people who operated the sampling about the cutting of samples. Fourth, a protocol was not respected for dating operation. Then the usual procedure of double-blind tests was refused. Then a refusal of disciplinary documentation as to radiocarbon dating. And seventh, there was no certification by the American scientists participating in the tests, and the unusual certification by the laboratory as to the dates of the sampling. And then the intercommunication between the three labs during the works. And 10th, the disclosure to the media of the first results. And then the refusal to communicate the rough results of the measurings. This was denied more than once to the scientific symposium responsible for the Paris meeting. Lack of clarification as to the measures taken in Oxford as compared with the other laboratories. Then the unacceptable value of 6.4 published on the magazine Nature as to the result of the radiocarbon dating. And 14th point, the refusal to engage in a debate as to the results obtained. Then this refusal is quite unusual, and the refusal to publish the statistical expertise which had been entrusted to Professor Brett of the Statistical Institute of Turin. This was refused by to the scientific committee who had prepared the symposium. So is our dating sufficient in order to dating is sufficient in order to disprove the hypothesis of forgery? So the image is still unexplained as to its process. So it was during the Paris Symposium through a British Museum official letter, and I'm quoting, "I write to you in order to confirm in writing that I do not believe that the radiocarbon dating by the Turing Institute can prove that a forgery has taken place. The radiocarbon dating gives us no proof in support of this hypothesis." Moreover, a few months later, in 1990, the display organized by British Museum in London, The Heart of Deception, confirmed that the shroud could not be considered a forgery. Then after the action by SEALT, the direction of the British Museum officially cancelled any reference to it in its catalogue, and I'm quoting it. "Forger of the Turin shroud." So the direction of the British Museum, with an official letter dated August 23rd, 1990, stated a refusal of this, not due to insufficient evidence, but because there was an insufficient practical measures. Then the direction of the British Museum, which is the scientific authority responsible for the radio dating of the Holy Shroud, set up a trial on this archaeological finding, a relic on which Louis Chevalier had based his works. And second, the documents of the official catalogue published in 1990 by the British Museum. The scientific status of this archaeological finding seemed consistent with the third case of the epistemological classification established by Upansky. The generating fact of the image derives from a corpse, from an authentic, crucified and tortured man as to the required anatomical characteristics. The era of this still requires a scientific debate. So for the sake of clarity, we should stress the following before beginning the symposium. The international scientific community must be informed about this data and the whole scientific community and the media have been invited to this debate. And once acknowledged this new scientific position following the Paris Symposium in 1990, through Monsignor Joachim Navarro, the international scientific community required that activity had to be resumed on this topic, and the CIELT was asked, consistently with its scientific statute, to take the initiative, together with other Italian organizations, in order to organize this symposium. But please allow me to go back on the worrying character of the dating. Organized in 1988, 35 months after the Paris Symposium, the 4 pages published in the magazine Nature are the only official scientific document relevant to this operation and published 52 months ago. None of the 15 anomalies which I just mentioned received any comment or complete official explanation. Moreover, neither the rough results found in the 3 labs nor the statistical expertise by Professor Brady of the Colonetti Institute under the auspices of the British Museum, all this was never published in spite of the public motion formulated by the scientific committee organizing the Paris Symposium and the Rome Symposium, which begins today. So since all these lacks have been acknowledged, the fact states that the 15 points are a deviation from a rigid scientific law. Now the floor to Mrs. Crispino.